You have dogs growing up?
Yep.
What kind of dog?
Shoot. We moved a lot. Like as a kid, we moved a lot, so we had all kind of different animals all the time.
Yeah. We had a dog, German short hair, when I was a kid. My parents actually got it a month before I was born, and my mom's allergic, but it was a hunting dog, so my dad kind of like had this pen that was like built into the garage and everything, so it could come in like when it was winter, could stay warm and everything. But since that dog, my parents have not really had any dogs or really any pets because my mom's allergic to like everything. But I absolutely love dogs. So when Alyssa and I started dating, here's my mic, good. When Alyssa and I started dating, she had Stanley for about a year before we started dating, and that was like the best of both worlds. Is like I had a dog, but I didn't have to take care of it, at least at first.
Heck yeah.
Now I walk him once a day, feed him.
I didn't have to raise and teach it the hard stuff.
Yeah, because she had to do all that whenever, like in his first year, like potty trained him and everything. So,
heck yeah, yeah. I had a half boxer, half pit that was my best dog ever, and I like the boxer breed quite a bit.
Obviously, we like boxers and pits here. So
yes.
Stanley's boxer Boston Terrier. Stella's apparently, so we got her at the shelter. Got a DNA test on her, 100% American Pit Bull.
So, interesting.
Which is not technically a breed. It's like kind of feels like we wasted a little bit of money on that, but
yeah. Heck yeah. Yeah, I want to get one something of similar breed like that, but I got to compromise with my girl because she doesn't like shedding. So I was looking at some dogs that don't shed.
Yeah.
And I forgot what's the name of this dog. It doesn't. It's like some Australian dog or something.
Like a hypoallergenic.
Yeah, and it doesn't bark.
Really?
What it's called. Yeah. Dang, I'll think of it later.
Like the whole breed of dog just doesn't bark at all?
Yeah, they make this little yodel noise, but they don't bark, like, period.
A yodel noise.
Yeah, and they're really smart, and like they can be competitive dogs. I'm not sure exactly in what, but they're smart dogs, and yeah, they're hypoallergenic and they don't bark, and so it's like she wants some perfect dog. I guess I'm gonna have to spend a little money and get this little. I want to say it's like the dog that they had back in ancient Egypt, some old ancient dog breed. But anyways,
that's so I've learned actually dogs will shed a lot more depending on the food that you give them. Alyssa, she worked at a pet store when she was in college. She worked at the Edmond Animal Shelter for a little while, and turns out there's like quite a bit of a difference in the food you give them. So like our dogs are not hypoallergenic, but they really don't shed much at all. Again, my mom's allergic, and when she comes to stay with us, because her and my dad are in St. Louis, she can like actually like hang out, like she can stay in the guest room and everything, and like doesn't really have much of a problem. So like if you get the right food, they actually don't shed nearly as much. So
might have to educate my girl because yeah, that'd be a lot easier to find a dog like that.
Yeah, it's just feed them right food. You can get, I think, most dogs. So
I'm coming to Alyssa for the knowledge.
Yeah, she's it's funny, there was even like some crossover a little bit between like dietary supplements for like people and people working out, and dogs, like glucosamine chondroitin was apparently like a pretty common one for dogs. So we were like, that was where I really kind of like got to like see her side of the knowledge a little bit more. So she's pretty knowledgeable within that realm. So I just listen to her. So
I'm interested. I'm gonna build a perfect dog.
Well, we're kind of jumping right into it, but ladies and gentlemen, this is the Unsuccessful Entrepreneur Podcast. Our guest tonight is JT, Jonathan Pelkey. We are unfortunately missing our co-host Thomas Oglesby tonight. He is started to not feel so well, and JT here is an IFBB Pro bodybuilder and is getting ready to compete in the Olympia, which is less than 2 weeks away now, right?
Yep, I'm 12 days out.
12 days out. When you start counting the days, that's when it gets close.
Yeah, anything to make that time just seem like it's not so far away.
Yeah.
Yeah, 12 days out. It starts in 11 days. Not just the females, but there's some classes on Friday. But yeah, all day Saturday is going to be game day.
So you're stepping on stage. It will be Saturday.
Yep, Saturday mornings prejudging and finals at night.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah,
How's it feel?
man. I mean, it's exciting just the idea of going at all. I mean, it's really exciting just to be. I'm going to be around all these different people, and I plan to go train at the Dragon's Lair, and I'm sure there's going to be a ton of different people there, and it's going to be an awesome experience. As far as a prep, I'm just like any of them, I'm ready to get there. Like at this point, I'm like just ready to get it over with. But it's going to be really fun and exciting, just the whole experience. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. How long did you ever envision yourself getting to the Olympia?
Yeah, like I always knew that it was possible. Actually doing it is different, obviously. But I always, when I started, like I knew that it was possible because what's helped me get through the hard times that I had in my early adulthood was just realizing that I'm human, just like everyone else, and anybody that's ever done anything, like at some point they had to go through something to make it happen. Like it didn't just happen for them.
Mhm.
And if they can do it, then anybody can do what they need to do.
That's been a big one for me, is it watching other people, and you get this kind of idea that, like, somehow they just got lucky, or they just made the right decisions, or just are smart. They're smarter than you. They've got better genetics than you. And
Yeah.
it's like, man, if someone else can figure it out, like, man, even if I have to work twice as hard, it's like I can get there.
Yeah, no doubt. It's there's ups and downs, there's doubts and everything, but that's normal. You got to have that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if you really believe in something enough that you're willing to change your whole life for it, like you can probably make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
If you're willing to make the sacrifices. So
yeah.
I'm guessing that you get that question. Like, that's probably pretty much what you've been talking about since you won the last 2 pro shows. I'm guessing that you probably get that question multiple times a day. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, anytime at the gym, pretty much. Yeah, it's kind of always the same thing, which, I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
It's not a normal thing, so
Not by any means, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of people look at it, they only see the fun side of things and like going and experiencing things as like a fan or something like that. And I don't know, just the way that some people approach talking to me about it is like, it's all like fun and only, like I said, only the good stuff. And it's like, it's still a grind, bro. Like we're still got to work really, really hard to even get there. I've been prepping like, with a small gap in between, I've been prepping like all year. So it's like, it's not necessarily fun.
Yeah. Cause you did 2 shows this year, right?
Yeah.
And you competed in 1 or 2 shows last year?
Last year I did just 1 show.
Okay.
Yeah. Chicago Pro last year.
How was it? And what were the 2 shows this year?
This year I did Chicago Pro, or I did the Atlanta Pro, and then 1 week later I did the Chicago Pro.
Man,
So
how was it? How was that feeling? Like winning those shows?
it was, I mean, it was everything. I felt on top of the world for sure. Really validating. This whole year competitively and with my coaching, it's been really validating because there's so many people in this sport and so many different competitors, hundreds, thousands of competitors, even just around here, and the outside, if you're not in the sport, if you don't understand it, like you kind of look at us all the same.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to set myself apart is nice.
Yeah.
To be able to, some people like think I'm cool just because I was a pro or because I'm Mr. USA or because I compose good or whatever it is. And to me, it's like, I didn't really do, I mean, it's cool. Yes. But to me, winning some shows, going to the Olympia, like that's legit. Like I'll take that.
Yeah. You're comparing yourself to the best in the world now.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy because like, and the thing is there's like 50, I think there's over 50 guys qualified and competing at the Olympia in classic physique. And so you really you never know what's going to happen. Like I might get, just did not place, and you just never know, got fourth, fifth call out. Like you never know.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of people that are telling me like, man, like I think you can get top 10, top 6, blah, blah, blah. And comparing pictures of me next to like some of those top 5 guys. And it's exciting. Like you never know until you go and do it. Like Urs last year popped up out of nowhere. Ramon popped up out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so you never know.
People might pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah, they might just like the shape, the lines. Like you never know.
That's true. Yeah, from one year to the next, you notice that judges kind of look for a little something different. So someone that would have won last year may not be winning this year, kind of deal.
Yeah, and the more that, because the sport's classic physique's only been around since 2016, so not even 10 years yet. I feel like it's just maturing, and there's certain guys that are getting in there and staying,
Mm-hmm.
but there's so much more talent that there's going to be that one or that two that just shines through and sticks themselves in the top 5 or the top 10. And, in some years, like, yes, some guys will fall off and there's always going to be some rotation, but it's going to continue to get more and more and more competitive. And there's going to be more guys that you just know, like, okay, that's the top 10.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel
no
like
question.
It even just started to finally get that way because, with just bodybuilding, you typically see a lot of the same guys from one year to the next. You can expect to see, X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
But with Classic, I remember when that first emerged, it was, I felt like I was seeing a different top 3 guys every single year. And I was, trying to kind of keep up with who's winning. And I feel like now just finally starting to get to where, we know at least a couple of names that'll probably be in the top 10.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's, there's some people that are just like fans, they just don't really know. And they're like, oh man, you're going to be top 5 for sure. You're in my top 3.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's like amazing. And like, if it did happen, then great. But I'm like, the top 5 is like solidified pretty much. Like everybody knows,
Yeah.
And the thing is, when you start looking at it, like you could stack that up. I mean, to a top 10, to a top 15, like, so.
What do you mean?
As far as the amount of talent that's out there,
mm-hmm.
and you look at like you try to place all these 50 guys, you could very easily create a top 15, top 20. I mean, super easy of guys that you just aren't even thinking about.
Yeah.
And so it's just crazy how competitive it is.
Yeah.
50 something competitive. I feel like that's probably going to change in some way.
Okay.
Because it's a lot of people. That's the biggest show that I've ever heard of. Ever. That's the biggest class I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
And it's the Olympia.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like there should be, I don't know exactly how it would be perfectly laid out, but there should be like some sort of a point system or something to where like not every show is an automatic qualifier. Because that's where the numbers just get so piled up, because you've got shows all over the world and then one big show that everybody comes to. So
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe they have some show before the Olympia. I don't know how it would work exactly, but yeah, I feel like maybe just based on points and certain tiers of shows give certain amount of points for wins and things like that. I don't know how it could work exactly.
I thought I remember hearing that it used to be that way, that you had to win, or you had to be within, earn so many points throughout the year. I remember looking at it years ago, where now it's if you win your class, that's a qualifier for the Olympia, right?
Yeah.
And obviously just competing in the Olympia, I feel like I hear, anybody that's, been an IFBB pro in the past is like, man, obviously pro card is a huge goal for so many people that are in the sport. But, once you achieve that, I feel like the next goal is to just qualify to get to the Olympia. I feel like I hear that more as a goal as opposed to even winning a pro show, which obviously they go hand in hand, but I feel like they talk about that more than anything. So.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you will hear that the whole goal is to get to the Olympia. And that was kind of my mindset for a little bit, but whenever I got serious about it, it shifted. And I just cared about winning the shows. And, obviously that leads to an Olympic qualification, but that wasn't even on my mind.
Really?
Yeah. Like I just wanted to win the shows. Like I knew that I could win a pro show.
Yeah. Man, it was a big deal. I think it was the first one, which was the Atlanta Pro was the first one, and then Chicago Pro. I think it was the Atlanta Pro. Was that one in July?
Yeah.
That one, I remember I had people over here. I think it was the day of Alyssa's birthday. My birthday's right after, so we had friends over and we were just hanging out, and it was a lot of the people from Triad. And I remember, I think it was Will saw the post that you had won that show, and it would just like blew up. Like I felt like I, heard everybody, like that's all anybody was talking about over here. It was, 15, 20 people over here, and that's what everybody was talking about for the next 10, 15 minutes. And then I feel like that's all I saw on social media the rest of the day was everybody posting about you, sharing it on your stories. So dude, that in itself was a big deal, man.
Yeah, that's dope to hear. And really that kind of stuff is what opened my eyes up and showed me that it was really made it real. Mm-hmm. And also just showed me that, when I'm in the gym or just wherever, that people are looking at me, I got eyes on me, that, I don't know. I kind of used to walk around with a little bit of the attitude of like, I'm cool. I can do whatever the hell I want. Mm-hmm. And like, I can, come and smelling like a bunch of weed or whatever it is. And not that I won't still do that. 'Cause like, I don't care whether it's on purpose or not. Like I might've just smoked some weed and then I happen to smell like it, like as if I had just smoked a cigarette and I just happen to smell like a cigarette. It's like, not plotting it out. But the thing is like, I just kind of take care of the way I carry myself is a little bit more purposeful now, because I realize that people really do look up to me. Yeah. Like it validated it to me. Yeah. That everything that people thought about me before, I validated it to myself. And so now I'm like, okay, like I have to be that person because that's who I am. That's who I'm expected to be. Yeah. So, and I like it. I mean, I like having something to live up to and not just, floating kind of.
Yeah. I know it's kind of cool for me is 5 years ago at Tin Gym, you were definitely the guy that got in there, was training. You could definitely see like there was a future for you. We were never that close, never really talked all that much, but it's cool to see. It's cool to see to come back 5 years later and see that you're now a pro, winning pro shows and stuff like that. And like, I'm the last person, I don't follow bodybuilding that much. Like I enjoy training for what training is, but that was never my thing. But kind of going back to what you said in terms of you never wanted to be that guy and you see where you are now. I can tell just from the little interactions we have and stuff, how much different you carry yourself from back then to now. And props to you, man.
Yeah. Appreciate it, man. You've definitely matured a lot. I mean, also other things in life that have happened, having more kids and just different relationship things and, all that stuff ties in, but definitely this is, I always felt like I had to achieve something, like I needed to be somebody. And beforehand, I don't know exactly how I used to be. But I just know that I was just I just wasn't as mature. I just, didn't have as clear of a goal whenever I was in the gym and stuff like that. So I wasn't as focused, now I'm in and out. It's business, I'll talk to people, but yeah, it's business. I'm focused. So things are definitely different, but yeah, man, it's been really good. The whole journey has been great. All the relationships I've built and just where life is headed seems to be good. Yeah. So
obviously you're kind of in a position where you're having to set the example, especially in the gym nowadays. Do you feel like that, Stanley? Do you feel like as you've progressed, you earned your pro card, have done well in these shows, and are now competing in Olympia? Do you feel like you get treated differently by people that don't know you super well?
Yeah. I mean, it's weird to me sometimes whenever people really act like fans, because I'm just normal. Like I'm just like from Oklahoma, like I don't know. It's just weird. And I don't know exactly how I'm supposed to act, but I just, keep it simple, keep it short. I don't know. you know, try to be encouraging, stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely noticed that people certain people will like kind of fanboy about it, and it's just weird, you know, like, I don't know. I don't want to take away from anybody's, you know, if somebody thinks it's really cool and that's what their goal is to do the same thing. Like, I don't want to take away from that at all. But at the same time, I feel like you should always treat, like, you know, if there is what if there was a bunch of pros that were Olympic qualified training in your gym? Like, you're just going to act like that with everyone? Like, not me. I'm going to start doing the same exact stuff they're all doing, and I'm going to be next in line. And just, we don't have to talk about it. We can just become friends later when you want to know who I am.
Yeah.
So, but
you talked about, you know, winning those shows and qualifying for the Olympia really kind of validated, you know, who you are and what you're trying to do. Do you feel like, have you heard of imposter syndrome?
Yes.
Do you think you were dealing with that at all?
Absolutely. You know, not so much as a competitor, because it is what it is. Like, I've always been the type that I like the fact that I had a sleeper physique, that, like, especially whenever I was a little bit smaller, like in plain clothes, I just look like an athletic guy. And then I take off, you know, especially when I'm shredded for a show, I take off my clothes and it's just, bow, everything just goes crazy. And, you know, there's certain guys that, you know, especially there's certain guys that I've become friends with now that they've told me, they're like, man, whenever I first saw you in the gym, I'm like, that's the guy that won Mr. USA. Like, he's the one. And yeah, like, I've never been the guy that was just like huge or anything. And
super obvious when you walk in the gym, even with a sweatshirt kind of guy.
Yeah. I've never been that.
Yeah.
So,
man, I think, I started following you. I think I saw a post, I think it was from Limitless. They made a post about you, and I think you maybe in a tank top or something. So Limitless, the apparel company, are you still with them?
Yeah,
I figured. Man, they do a really good job. But I think I saw a post from them where obviously you're one of their athletes, one of their models. Or what position do they call it?
Yeah, I am technically a sponsored athlete, you know,
Okay.
and I guess a model as well.
There you go.
Yeah, but technically a sponsored athlete with them. Yeah, so,
but I can't remember the exact post, but it was I think probably you like in a tank top, like doing some sort of pose, and I was like, man, like that guy has a really solid physique, and I started following you, and the more I watched, the more it was like, man, this guy just really knows how to show off his physique, you know, and obviously you get a ton of praise for your posing abilities, and it's really cool to hear you talk about, you know, some of the pros that have done it in past years, and learning from them, and, you know, even kind of like putting your own flair. Like, I know I've seen you post about, you know, trying to make certain poses that you do popular and some of your clients do popular. So, but that's been really cool, man. The thing that was really cool to see, I think it was a couple years ago when you were getting ready for I think it was one of maybe the Chicago Pro the year before, about, I felt like everybody was talking about how good of a poser you are, and obviously, you know, you've been called one of the best, and but to hear that post, I think from Gina Davis, trainer here, I've also IFBB Pro, talk about how hard of a worker you are as well. That's the reason you are at the level that you are, is because how much work you put in. It's like, yes, posing, great, phenomenal by all means, but that doesn't get you there. It's all the work. It's everything else that goes in behind it. Cause like, if you got nothing, then posing does you very little.
yeah. And it all ties in. Like, with posing, it's really just getting repetitions in. You just need to do it enough times that you realize what you don't like, and you can iron it out. And you could do it, and you do the right thing. You learn what the right thing is and do it enough times that it becomes a habit. And so really, it's just the mindset in general. Like, once I was selling cars whenever I decided to get into bodybuilding, and once I decided on bodybuilding, my brain didn't give me another option. And the problem with that is that bodybuilding didn't pay me right away. I mean, it still doesn't directly pay me unless I win a show. So, I had to go through a long process to get to where I am now, to where I'm financially stable in bodybuilding. And so whenever I was selling cars, I'm sure you know, like in sales, if you're not committed, it's just not going to work out. It's just not going to work for you. Like, if you're not fully committed to what you're doing and just all aspects, if you're not fully committed, I remember one of the things, I forgot what book it was, maybe Zig Ziglar, talking about, if you don't see yourself doing this for the rest of your life, you might as well get out now, because you're going to waste a lot of years trying to make it, trying to figure it out. You're going to waste a whole lot of years.
Yeah.
Trying to pretend like you are committed.
Yeah.
But yeah, once that bodybuilding crept into my mind, that was it. Like, I was obsessed. I was always on YouTube looking at something, reading something. I changed my diet right away, even though I didn't know 100% what to do. I changed my diet right away and started working out 5-6 times a week, and it just became life. I mean, I just got completely obsessed with it.
What year did you get into bodybuilding?
Well, so I actually decided to compete in 2015, but I started weight training whenever I was 12 or 13, I think 13. Yeah, I was in the 8th grade whenever we started. We tested our maxes like one time in like 7th grade, and then in 8th grade we started lifting for real. And I got strong quick. Like, I remember my 8th grade year of football, we tested our maxes, and I benched 105 pounds and I squatted 160 pounds.
Hey.
And then the very next year, I benched 205 pounds and I squatted 325.
Really?
And so I just like blew up quick, got fast, just like running and everything, super quick. It just developed quickly when I got to weight training.
And you played football in high school, right?
Yeah.
What position you play?
So we ran kind of like I don't know if they still run it. It's either Navy or Georgia Tech or Army, or somebody runs that. Dang, I don't even remember what it's called anymore. It's they've got 2 wings and a fullback and a quarterback, and they run lots of options. I forget what it's called. Oh my God. I hope nobody that I played with watches this. But anyways, and I was usually one of those wings. You could call it a running back, you could call it a slot receiver, H-back, whatever. But really I was better naturally at defense. I played safety, and I would just sprint to the ball and just probably illegally crack people upside the head all day before it was illegal.
Yeah.
And but I played all over. It was a small school, so I ended up playing, over the course of time, I played that running back spot or wing spot or whatever, and then I played quarterback my senior year.
Really? Okay.
And then I played safety for a lot of years, cornerback, kind of back and forth depending on who else we had. I was actually the deep snapper, the kick returner, punt returner.
Just put you wherever they needed you.
Yeah, it was a small school, so if we had somebody good, they were everywhere.
You like playing defense more than offense?
Well, I actually like the idea of offense more, but I was naturally better at defense. Like, I probably should have just stuck with defense. Like, I actually played slot receiver in college at UCO just for a year, and ended up getting hurt. And, everything worked out how it's supposed to, but I feel like if I would have played safety, I would have had a longer career. Just because I hadn't put myself in positions that I was in a lot of the time playing wide receiver, and I ended up I got hurt a lot. And but yeah, everything works out how it's supposed to. But yeah, defense was like, I loved Brian Dawkins, Ed Reed, John Lynch, just the savage safeties that you love watching YouTube videos of.
Yeah, I played a few years in high school, and I was better at defense and liked defense more. It's, man, memorizing plays and trying to second guessing yourself of like, okay, like I'm like 90% sure I'm supposed to do this, but where defense, it's just all reactive. Like, you've got, your, certain either zones or, man to man that you're watching. But I played D end for a couple years, and then outside linebacker. And it's just like, man, I'm much more of a reactive player than a proactive player. So
yeah, I feel that. Yeah. Only thing about the reason that I didn't decide, because actually my senior year I played around so many different positions that the recruiter I was talking with from UCO, they were originally recruiting me for DB,
Mm.
and then they asked me midway through the season, like, what do you want to play? And I was like, I want to play wide receiver. And they're like, okay.
Mm.
And so I'm like, all right. Dang, I forgot where I was going with that. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, kind of left you. You obviously were lifting while you're playing football, and got into truly competing, like getting ready for a show in 2015. You're selling cars at the time. How long has it been since you've been selling cars?
So I quit in July of 2020.
2020, and that was to train clients full time, right?
Yeah, so I really started, I picked up a few training clients, but that was never really my vibe, really. Like I started doing posing coaching, and that was what really got me to where I started doing online coaching, and that made it to where, I was making a couple grand a month from the car dealership. Doing online coaching, I started, I got to where I was making, $1,000, $1,500 a month. And then I started doing posing coaching, but I didn't have enough time while I was selling cars to make posing coaching worth it. And one day I was sitting at home before I was supposed to go in for my shift, and I had made a certain amount of money in a certain amount of time. And I'm just like looking at the numbers, and I'm like, dude, I'm wasting my time. And I was like, you know what? If I make this much money by this time, I'm not going back to work. And I did, and never went back to work. I just never showed up.
Heck yeah, man.
And that was that.
So what kind of clients are you working with these days?
So really anybody that'll follow the plan. Obviously competitors are drawn to me, and that's great, and I love that. But I also really enjoy lifestyle people, because things don't have to be so critical. Like every single move, every single thing that happens is not so serious. And really, I enjoy kind of life coaching a bit, because there's a lot of that needed. With people that are interested in fitness at all, like you'll find a trend that there's something in their life they don't like. And my goal is to teach people how to be healthy and feel healthy, and to change themselves how they want to, if they want to, and feel good the whole time they're doing it. Like feel good about whatever it is, wherever stage they're at, to feel good in their skin. And they don't have to, they don't have to be perfect. You just got to try.
Right.
If you have like my idea of success is having a clear-cut goal in mind, and every day you do what's required of you for that day to get closer to that goal. And if you do that, the progress might seem slow at times, but you just got to be patient, trust the process, because that's just
tough
things
to do.
take time.
Tough to do, especially from a position where you're just generally trying to be healthy. You're not trying to step on stage or anything.
Yeah.
Do you what percentage of clients do you have are lifestyle or versus competitors, would you say?
I'd say probably, just guessing, probably a third.
A third or
probably
lifestyle?
about a third of my clients. Yeah.
Really? Gotcha. So mostly competitors, huh?
Yeah. A lot of them are off season. A lot of them are novice and need to grow, need to really develop and really learn how to be real bodybuilders. But I do have a good handful of competitive people already. Yeah. So
I bet that's fun to work with. Do you have a preference on which type of client you like to work with more?
Really no. Like I said, anybody that will follow the plan and just really, really communicate. I mean, people don't understand. You can be an excellent client and still there be a lot of gaps because of communication, because there's certain things where, it's taken me a few years of working with my current coach to understand the type of communication that is beneficial, because I might tell them, how I'm feeling with training or the diet or just whatever it is, that indicates to him, he's kind of running on empty, or, he has plenty of food, we can diet down more, or just whatever it is. There's, just telling me how your day is going sometimes will indicate, something that I can do to make things better. So just, anybody that will really, really communicate and just really, really be open to my recommendations, and just anybody that's coachable.
Yeah.
That's the biggest factor.
Gotcha.
Just be
More than-
coachable, because I, as a coach, am extremely flexible,
Mhm.
extremely flexible, because I lived majority of my life in fitness, was as a normal person, as a parent, and as someone that worked at a job that was demanding of time.
Mhm.
And so I know all the tricks.
Mhm.
I know everything that you can do. You got to eat quick, on the fly, whatever. And so I'll have to, I have somebody that checks in with me, and, in a couple weeks in a row, they're telling me that they failed on the diet, or that they missed this meal, or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, we need to figure this out. Like, at what time can you eat this meal? What's your work day look like? When do you get a lunch break? All this stuff. And I'll break it all down, and I'll put their meals in certain slots that make it work. And whatever it is, like I said, if you're coachable and you communicate, we will figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, man, I think that was the biggest thing that I had to learn, when I first got started working in supplements, and because I started with supplement superstores in the Missouri area, and they have you get NASM certified as a personal trainer. They had you take the fitness nutrition specialist certification as well. That one has changed to the CNC, but you gain, you take this test, and it's, all this knowledge on the science behind all of dieting and everything, macronutrients, micronutrients, breaking down like percentages, like, what to shoot for based off which goal, which lifestyle, all this kinds of stuff. And the biggest thing for me was I gained, took in all this knowledge, and I learned a lot from the people that I was working with, and the science, and just had, genuine interest in it. And then, I'm able to follow, something, especially as like, someone in my, early 20s, it's like, I don't have a lot of responsibilities. I can follow a pretty strict diet without too much trouble. But then I start working with, more lifestyle type of clients in the store, and, helping them, and even just kind of not nearly doing, a diet as far as like you would do as a coach, but with someone in the store, I'm at least kind of doing like general guidelines, general breakdowns, and learned really quickly that you can write the most perfect diet in the world, but if someone can't follow it, then it doesn't matter. So it quickly became, okay, I've got the science. It quickly became, how do I, what's the most ideal diet that each individual can follow, more than it is what's the scientifically most ideal diet for each individual person.
Yeah, that's a huge factor. And there's certain people that like just don't understand it. They're like, what's the science behind this? Like, why am I eating Oreos pre-workout? It's like calories.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. And it's like, yeah, people think way too, they make it way more difficult than it needs to be. But yeah, that's what I always say, is that the absolute best plan is the one that you can stick to.
Yeah.
Because if you can't stick to it, then it
doesn't matter. It's terrible diet.
None of it matters.
Yeah. But I know that was, and I think that's why I try and, like, even today, I try and like kind of stick to, telling people why, or like explaining why, or like at least a little bit of the science. You dive too far into it, and it's just right over people's heads. But I know that was for me, I was able to diet better myself the more I understood, the more I understood from it. And, it's like, okay, you hear protein is, that's what you eat if you're working out, if you want to gain muscle. But then, to actually go into the science of, stimulating muscle protein synthesis, an anabolic versus a catabolic state. It's like, okay, like now I understand like why I'm doing this. That was really what clicked for me, was if I understand why, and I understand not everybody's necessarily like that, but understanding why was like, okay, now I know, when it's been 6 hours and I haven't had any protein at all, it's okay. There's the reason that I need to be getting something in, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, if people are asking questions, I'll give you whatever answer. So
Yeah.
I love clients like that, as long as they'll follow the plan, as long as you'll be coachable, do what I ask.
I'm sure you have ones that are less than coachable on either side of the competitors and the more lifestyle type of clients.
Absolutely. I got some people that pay me, I think, just so they feel like they can tell that part of their brain that they're doing that. that they're taking care of that.
Hmm.
You know, and they don't really follow it. You know, it actually bothers me, and I won't let a client stick around too long if they're checking it or not checking in repeatedly, but still paying me. Like, I'll start asking questions and start really trying to figure out what's going on. Like, why are you paying me money? I don't understand. And I've fired a few clients and I'm still cool with them. If they want to hire me again and get serious, then great. But I've had a couple people that, yeah, like, they're so, you know, there's a category of people that they can't find their true motivation. They can't find their true discipline, and they've got it in them and they've got the talent, but they just can't find that thing that, like, they don't have a clear cut goal. And so they just don't have that driving force behind them.
They don't have a specific direction.
Yeah. And, so, you know, it's people that they'll text me and be like, hey, I'm going to check in tomorrow. It's been a great week and blah, 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 blah. And then they don't check in. And then the next week, you know, it's like, or 2 weeks later, it's the same thing. Like, oh yeah, they'll give you a little update. Cause I've got a whole system that you track and log everything. And if you fill it all out, we don't need to talk to each other. Yeah. And I'm fine with talking to you, but I'm just saying, if you fill it all out, that's everything. I handled all of it right there. And, yeah, they'll just bypass that and they'll just text me a quick update and then just go on about life. And I'm like, okay, so no changes. I don't know what you want from me.
Yeah, I can't make changes if I don't know what's going on.
But yeah, I don't like that. You know,
yeah.
I just so a waste of time. Like, I don't want to have to feel bad about taking somebody's money.
Not a lot of people will do that, man. I'm sure there's a lot of trainers out there that would simply just keep taking the money and just, man, if you put in the work, you know, I'm here to help. But
yeah, and that's why I didn't like personal training, because the type of client that I want is, you know, I want serious athletes. And just, not that that's not possible, but it's something that I really would have to build on, you know, and just get one, and then we grind it out, and we're committed to each other, and they're going to pay me a lot of money, and I'm going to spend a lot of time with them. And then, you know, you find another, and you know, I admire that. There's people that do that. Gina Davis, like, that's the perfect model right there. And but that's just, basically, I don't got time for that. Pretty much, you know what I mean? Like, I still want those people, you know, out of the clients that I attract with my current business model. There are some people that I'm going to get more personal with and have gotten more personal with. But yeah.
So you do no one-on-ones anymore?
No, like, this whole year, I did a few posing sessions, but this whole year and also I did a few training sessions here and there. Like I said, I'd have a few people that were training for shows or whatever, and I'd train them here and there, or maybe they were, you know, were having trouble with figuring out some squat form or some particular exercise or whatever it is. And so I might spend a little bit of time, but yeah, I did not offer myself for one-on-ones in any capacity.
Nice to have that in your back pocket, but not to be committed to that, man. Because I know that's, like, obviously for personal trainers, that's the one thing that I've always saw. Because I even so early on in Triad's history, it was pretty much the whole year of 2017. Me and my original partners weren't paying ourselves at all, but still trying to get the business up off the ground, you know, because hopefully one day it'll do well. So I was working the front desk of, if you remember, Fitness 19, and doing some personal training, like taking whatever clients I could get. And I got up to, I think, about 10 or 12 clients at one point. So, you know, I had decent income, but I just remember thinking, you know, there's somewhat of a limit to what I could make as a personal trainer, because I'm limited by my time and what I'm able to put in, man. So it's, but with working with clients, like, simply, you know, I don't know if online is technically the right term for it, because I know you work with a lot of people here in town, but simply only working with their dieting. Do you do their training programs as well?
Yeah.
So simply just doing that and being able to kind of, you know, tweak the numbers and everything on the back end, man. Obviously you've got a lot more ability to take on more that way. So
yeah,
I'm sure that's been enjoyable, man, to kind of get to the, I'm sure your schedule's a lot more free now too, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that was really what it was about. Mostly, like, whenever I had, you know, I've got 3 kids. And so with how my schedule needs to be able to move around and drive around the state and see them and be on the schedule I am. That's super important.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll still, even whenever I start posing this coming year, it's only going to be like 1 or 2 days out of the week. And I'll just kind of fill up, 30-minute or 45-minute blocks all throughout the day for 1 or 2 days. And that's it of every week. And it'll happen like how it happened last time is that I offered myself, got super busy. So I had to increase prices, stayed busy, had to increase prices, stayed busy, had to increase prices. Then I had to get, then I got to the point to where I had to like start declining people and start telling people I can't work with you because of this or blah, blah, blah.
Really?
And I like felt bad because I just was having to pick and choose. And so then I just was like, I don't want to do this right now at all. Like I got to where I got enough clients, from online clients. And I was like, I have income that I need. And like you said, if I ever want posing clients, like all I have to do is just make a post and I can pick up clients. And, but yeah, it's nice to do the online thing and be able to, like this year I did a ton of traveling, for my shows and for my client shows and for a wedding and for some different things. And I did a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
And it's nice that I didn't miss out on any work really because of that.
Obviously, when you and I were first getting to know each other, I was actually getting ready for the Grand Prix show in 2019 and hired you for a couple of posing sessions. In hindsight, I wish I would have found you a lot earlier and been posing with you once a week. But I know you were offering some posing sessions, and to help with critiques and help people out, get ready for whatever show they were doing around that time. And I remember thinking like, man, he does classic physique so well. And I was posing with Sherry and Bobby at the time, and I think Shannon a little bit, and Shannon especially was a huge help. But I was doing that once a week, and I'm pushing the envelope of like throwing everything I can. I'm posing once a day. I'm hitting posing class once a week, and then I think it was towards the end of my prep that I found you, and I think you made some massive changes in my posing, which was obviously super super appreciative. Of hindsight, again, I wish I would have found it earlier. But it just seemed like working with you, man, it was cool to just kind of pick your brain on all of it and see how your mind worked with all of it. Is that something that you still enjoy, is working with posing clients?
Yeah, definitely. And again, same thing with the training clients. I really just, I want people to just really take it serious because I am so passionate with what I'm trying to deliver to people that whenever, what bothered me the most and what really started turning me off at the end of it was that I would do a session with somebody, spend a full hour. We got the tripod set up. They record the session, the whole thing. And then the next session they show up and I ask them to hit a basic pose and they're like, what? And I'm like, okay. And then I'll show them. And then it's like, we go to the next one and they don't know. And I'm like, bro.
Didn't practice anything. No, you're good.
Hit my head on the wall.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Yeah, I just hate whenever people don't respect it. And they don't respect the work that I put in and that they show up and I have to show them the same thing over and over. That's the same thing we kind of talked about with the clients that just want to kind of check it off their list. Like, I'm not that guy.
Going through the motions.
Yeah, I don't want you to pay me just so you can show up and talk about what your boyfriend did to you. And I don't care. I want to train you.
Yeah.
I want you to work out.
Dude, I know there's I'll even see trainers at the gym that, and to a certain extent, I'm sure it's true with everyone that's doing any personal training is, you're kind of the therapist.
Yeah,
for these people.
Absolutely. Like, I feel like that's 90% of it. Like, that's what people want. They'll pay you and that's what they want.
Yeah.
They don't really even care if they're working out sometimes.
Yeah.
And I just cannot be that guy. I cannot.
Not what you signed up for, huh?
Not at all. I'm not here for it. And with posing, it's even worse. Like, when people start talking to me and posing, like, it depends on where I'm at. If I'm not in prep, I might be in a good mood and I might just talk to them for a second. But if I'm in prep, especially, or if like they haven't learned anything and they're just talking, wasting time, I'll just sit there like, Okay. Anyways, so yeah, hit this pose
Yeah.
because yeah.
Finding people that aren't practicing on a regular basis, like outside of the class.
Yeah, it just really bothers me because like I practiced so much that I taught myself.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't practice what somebody else just like laid it all out there for you
Mm-hmm.
on video and everything. You can go back and watch it whenever you want. You know, the perfect explanation for everything you need.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd rather just forget about it after the posing session, show back up next time, pay me a couple more $100 and just keep on going through the motions.
Yeah.
And those guys don't win shows.
You're checking the box, but you're not putting in the actual effort. And I think for people, especially that haven't competed before, I know I underestimated how difficult it is to be good at posing, man. It's, I've done countless classes. Again, hired you. And I know one big thing that you talked about was, man, take every opportunity to be posing that you can, like, be doing progress pictures once a day, but, work on your posing in those times. If you're at work and you see yourself in a mirror, hit a front double bicep and legitimately work on your, your angles of your elbows and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's those repetitions, man, that like, I don't think people realize it. I know there's been some people out there that I've talked to of, if you just build enough muscle, over the years, eventually you could cut it down, pose it and be good. And it's like, that's not how it works, man. Posing is so much more difficult than you realize.
Well, and I feel like creating that connection that you need to have to pose your body perfectly will help to create your physique. And that's why I've been able to create the physique I have and the lines I have without just continuing to get big and get big and get big.
That's probably a good point, man. Someone, the next person on stage, like your last show, the person standing to the right of you probably is not if they posed the exact same way that you were, they wouldn't look the same because they've got different muscle development. So I really thought about that.
Yeah, I think that's like, I think that's why old school bodybuilding, like that's why those guys looked the way they looked. Because they trained exactly like they posed, and they posed themselves so much that they knew how to pose perfectly.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really the factor.
Yeah.
Is that, just think about it. If you hold your muscles to where it's perfectly displayed, and there's a way that you have to get into that position, in some way you've got to move to get there, and you're flexed, you're contracted. So if you just attach weight to wherever that working arm is, that works against that, then to me, that's how you build that look.
Do you feel like you train like that, like 100% of the time, or is it just certain, like for certain movements or?
Yeah, not 100% of the time, because when you get heavier, you can't really move the same as if you're just posing. But I definitely feel like it carries over. Like I feel like just the mindset in general and having that connection in general and understanding and feeling the difference between like an upper or lower pec or, front or medial delt or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's one thing. For example, whenever I very first started training, one of my buddies that I went to ask some questions, he told me that I needed to train my delts all the time, pretty much. Lots of lateral raises. And I took that to heart, and I just did lateral raises all the time. And that's why my delts are just like super round. But now it's to the point to where not only are my delts super strong, they're super developed, and I can pose them super easily. Like I have super good mind muscle connection with them. And and I just feel like they all kind of tie together. And if you play into that, then you can just make all those things better.
Yeah.
So
that's a super interesting way of thinking about it too, man. Have you had over your career, have you had any areas that you feel like you've had to work extra than others?
I think yes, but it's because I didn't know how to achieve what I wanted to achieve. I think more so I've spent a lot of time doing the wrong thing for 90% of what I was doing. And then just that 10%, I've just had to piece that together little by little by little by little to figure out like, oh, okay, like this is the big picture. And so, yeah, like there was a while where I was really into tracking the volume and things like that, to the point to where I wasn't even going as hard as I could go because I wasn't worried about going to failure. I was worried about tracking the volume. And I wasn't worried about doing big compound exercises, more so as hitting a muscle group a certain amount of times. And so, you know, like there is a lot of good in that. And I still use that quite a bit, but I've realized that there's other aspects. Like one thing, for example, I did so much of the lateral raises and got my delts so round that they always stood out. Even whenever I was natural, they always had great delts. Yeah. And but I didn't have the upper shelf thickness, is what I've always called it. You know, like the upper pec, the front delt, the traps, just the whole upper shelf.
Right.
I didn't have that thickness, and so I had the good shaped delts, but it wasn't like I didn't look big, like in a front relaxed,
as thick.
Yeah. And so I was like, you know, what am I missing? And it just took me a little bit of time to realize, like, shoulder press. Like I wasn't shoulder pressing for years.
Really?
Yeah. Like I would do little Arnold presses. I mean, like, so with shoulders, they're so unique. And it's like your glutes. They're kind of like the same muscle that you know, certain moves that are going to target it need to be heavy and hard, and you need to go to failure. And then there's others that you can just do some pump stuff and really detail, and they're really complex. But I was just doing all the detail work, and I wasn't doing just those power moves. And I started shoulder pressing twice a week, and one of those days I would do some chest work as well. And then I would also do some chest work on a third day. So I was pressing 3 times over the course of a week. And the way I design my split, especially now, is super interesting. And I think it's a really good way to design splits.
Would you mind sharing your split?
Yeah. So, yeah, I can think of it real quick. So I will do push, and so my push day will start with like, and I always structure my exercises like this. I'll do 3 main exercises, and then I'll do 2 groups of supersets. And it's normally like I'm targeting one part of the body with the first 3, and then another 1 or 2 parts with the supersets. Okay. So my push day is, I'm always going to start off with shoulder press because that's where I feel like I need the most. And so that's the first exercise is always going to be at whatever heavy compound that I want to put the most emphasis on for that day. So if it's like a leg day or something, you know, if I need to target more so the posterior chain that day, my first exercise will be RDLs versus something anterior, whatever. Right. But anyway, so my push day is shoulder press, and then I'm going to do an incline press, and then I skip down and do a decline press sometimes, but most of the time weighted dips. And so I'm actually skipping the flat press. And the only reason, well, there's a couple reasons I'm skipping that. For one, injury prevention, because I've never torn it, but I've had a couple weird tweaks and some things that really sketch me out. And also I did bench press for my whole life until recently, just flat pressing all the time. I just feel like I just don't need it. And I feel like most people don't really need it. You know, everybody longs for that thick upper chest. Well, why the hell just leave bench press alone and just do incline? Yeah. And so anyways, so I do the shoulder press, incline, weighted dips, and then and the dips are definitely a chest version. My bad. No, you're good. And then, so that's the push day. So then I'll do some shoulder and tricep work, because I consider your front delts to be a push, rear delts to be pull, lateral delts are both. And so I will do my first superset, lateral raises, and then what are we pushing? And then I will do like a push down exercise of some sort. And then my second superset will be like a supinated front raise. So kind of hit that pec and front delt. And then like a skull crusher or like a horizontal tricep press movement. And what else was I gonna say? I forgot. Anyway, so then I keep hitting these walls. It's something that, man, my water gets behind, it screws up my whole day. And if my water's behind, it will screw up my whole, like it can screw up my weight the next day, my look the next day. Same thing with sleep. Like if I sleep 7 hours versus 8.5 hours, it's going to be like a 2-pound difference. It's crazy. It's like my body waits to lose any weight until in the morning.
Have you been strict about when you're sleeping?
I'm trying to. Yeah, with the kids, it's actually a little bit easier because I keep them on a schedule, so the day kind of winds down at the same time every day, and it's just a little bit easier to get wound down and go to sleep. Versus when I don't have them, and I know I don't have to get up at any particular time the next day, I usually will stay up an hour or so later. And it actually screws me up because the daylight kind of creeps into my room and wakes me up, and I just can't get that same sleep. So that's an issue that I have. Usually, like today, I don't have any kids Monday, so I always do that on Monday. I'll wake up and only sleep for 7 hours, 7.5. It just bugs the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
do you have any protocol as you get closer to competing at the Olympia? Do you have any protocol for your sleep or anything like that? Because obviously traveling in itself is a whole hurdle to get over.
Yeah, honestly, once my head hits the pillow, I'm usually pretty good. I do have protocol though. I mean, I take raw sleep every night. I use this nasal spray. I forget which one it is exactly, but I just can't freaking breathe. I don't know what it is. A deviated septum, my girl says. I don't know what it is, but I can't breathe through my nose a lot of the time. And so this nasal spray, it says that you're only supposed to use it one time for like 3 days max. I use it twice a day for like the past 6 months. And I don't care because I just can't breathe.
Yeah.
Like whenever I go to train, I'm doing some heavy exercise and it like feels like I'm going to pass out because I cannot breathe.
I know that that nasal spray, your body gets accustomed to it pretty quickly. I guess there's some that aren't, some that aren't.
That shit works for me. It works for me. It does what I need it to do. So I can't go without it.
I know Alyssa was using nasal spray. She got I think it was a cold or something last year, or maybe last winter, like earlier this year. But she was using that nasal spray and she used it for about a week, and then she almost had to like wean herself off of it because she was like, my nose just closes up when I don't use it. So.
Yeah, and hell, that might be a part of it. But yeah, I feel like it's also me as I've gotten bigger. I have sort of sleep apnea because I'll realize like if I'm sleeping on my back a lot of the time, I don't necessarily feel my tongue falling, but like as I'm falling asleep, you kind of have that like, and you like realize that you weren't breathing, and so. I don't think it's too bad or anything. I did have night sweats a couple times, which is a good indicator. But anyways, I just sleep on my side and use the nasal spray, and I'm Gucci.
There you go.
Yeah.
You snorer?
No.
Just catch your tongue every once in a while, huh?
Yeah, just every once in a while. Like I said, if I turn on my back, I usually just stay on my sides the whole night. So
12 days out. What's the diet looking like right now? I know recently I talked to you, what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and you said you weren't having to cut nearly as much as you've had to in the past, or as much as other people have to, which was really cool to hear, man. Obviously, you've been prepping for a long time now, so it probably, I would assume, makes it a little easier, but has that changed since I talked to you last?
Yeah, I mean, food is kind of low, but it's to be expected for sure. It's not too crazy. I've been on 200 carbs and 45 grams of fat for the past like week or so. Like last Monday, I had a refeed. And then today, actually, and I was doing 400 cardio calories per day. Well, today we cut out the cardio and we increased to 275 carbs and 65 fat. So it's a little bit better. Meals are a little bit bigger,
Yep.
thicker. That's my thing, is like being satisfied by the meal that I eat.
Mm.
That's the toughest thing, man, because I can eat pretty much whatever. Like, taste, obviously it matters, but I don't want to get something that tastes too damn good, because then it's gonna like trigger me and I will eat a bunch of bad stuff. Like bad.
You gotta avoid. Is it salty or sweet foods?
I don't have to completely avoid it, but I gotta time it right and stuff. But sweet foods, sweet foods, and then there's certain things like sometimes I'll have pizza. If it's a refeed or whatever it is, I'll have pizza that I can count the macros on and stuff. And I gotta strategize with that, because if I leave myself hungry at the end of that, then it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah. That was always my toughest thing. And again, I keep relating back to like my show and my posing. For those out there to keep in mind, like JT is leagues ahead of where I was competing. But like I know on my show, I had to go lower carb than where you're at right now, which is surprising. I think I never got below 100 grams of carbs leading into mine. But man, the interesting thing hearing from you was being able to, I mean, you're getting ready to step on the stage with all the best competitors in the world, and you're still able to kind of work in, like, when's the last time you had something that wasn't what most people would consider diet food?
Today, for sure. Every single day.
Really? What'd you have today?
There's certain things that are like staples that just like keep me going mentally. Makes it a lot easier to eat low food. But I'll give you today so far. So, like my breakfast, I had 200 grams of egg whites with 100 grams of asparagus and like 3 slices of turkey bacon. And then on the side of that, I had 40 grams of oats with just 10 grams of protein for some flavor. And then I put, so this stuff is, you got to be careful with it because it has so much sodium, I feel like, is the issue. But Twisted, it's this company called Twisted Dough. They make like protein dough. And it's like a nut butter almost, but it's much lower calories, super high. Like, it is almost an exact meal replacement of like chicken and green beans, like the macros. And it's so damn good. They've got all these different flavors, and I freaking spend hundreds of dollars with them. And anyways, so I have my oats, and then I mixed in some of that Twisted Dough, this butter crunch flavor. And then some banana, and then 2 Oreo thins. And
so the Oreo thins is, I think, what most people would be surprised about.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, that's nothing. Like, if it digests okay, then it's fine. It doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter what the food is. I guess I haven't been too bad today. But yeah, so the Oreo thins, and then my next meal was just some jasmine rice, banana, chicken, and some more dough, but a different flavor. And then just had some cream of rice, Greek yogurt, blueberries, protein powder, and cashew butter. It's been pretty simple today, I guess.
That's pretty clean.
But it's only because food's low, and I'd rather get the volume versus getting something that tastes good.
Yeah. Going back to what you said earlier of ending, like, not being satisfied at the end of the meal, man, I know that was like the toughest thing. Like, for me was, when I got, to my lowest point in, calories and carbohydrates, competing, was finishing one meal and still being hungry.
Yeah. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I won't do it. I just can't.
Yeah.
And really, like, I feel like I'm kind of a diva about it, but I feel like I almost can be. Like, I straight up, if I had to deal with that all the time, I would just quit. I just wouldn't do it anymore. Like, it's because it's not even enjoyable. Like, if the whole process sucks, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
If it's gonna lead to where I like, my brain wants me to cheat on the diet, and I cheat on the diet, it's like, just, I can't even go 100%. I don't want to do it. Like, that's, if it wasn't for me to be able to count macros and do that, like, it would be a lot worse.
Yeah. No, I think that'd be surprising to a lot of people, including myself, man, again, getting ready to compete with the best in the world, being able to still have some flexibility is, I think a lot of people, again, including myself, wouldn't assume that you could have even the smallest amount of flexibility with that. So that's really cool to hear, man.
Yeah, it's been really nice because I've had to pay attention to not only macros but micros,
Mm-hmm.
and so I've learned a shit ton about how to create diets and how to put meals together, and
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about how to like counteract a big cheat meal. I'll call them a sodium bomb, because that's normally what it is, that all this sodium hits you so quickly and your body you just don't feel good, and your body's trying to process it, kidneys trying to process it, your sodium potassium pumps all jacked up, and you got electrolytes in the wrong place cellularly. And so yeah, like if I'm gonna go and have a bunch of pizza, then I'm probably gonna, before that, I might have a bang load of sweet potatoes and chicken and asparagus and jack my potassium through the roof. So then whenever I go and I eat this pizza, I can eat the pizza, get the sodium bomb, and then I'll smash water after, and that sodium potassium pump start to slowly dilute that, and I won't feel so bad.
You'll be a little bit more balanced within all the electrolytes and water.
Yeah.
Huh, that makes sense. Did you say that's a big reason why people feel crappy after a cheat meal?
Yeah, that's like the reason.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
For the most part, yeah.
So you talked about obviously your coach is Cameron Cheek. How long have you been working with them?
I guess it's been 2 years.
Okay.
Right at 2 years.
Obviously, you guys have really learned how to work well together, because I mean, obviously won the last 2 shows, but for him to give you that amount of flexibility as a coach, I'm sure is really nice from your perspective.
Yeah, it's actually really nice for both of us, because he said that it's nice for him because he doesn't have to adjust my diet. He doesn't have to spend any time on that. So, but yeah, it's really nice. I mean, basically, like, he does macros for most clients in the off season, and we started with that, and things kept going really good, and we just didn't have a reason to change it.
Never had that reason to transition to something more strict.
Yeah, and we communicate so well. Like I said, I'll just tell him, we just talk like we're friends, and we just communicate. We'll talk so well that it just works. It just kind of worked out. So
he's a smart dude. I follow him and, get to see his posts and get to hear him, kind of talk about clients a little bit. I know that I've heard of a handful of people here in Oklahoma that have started working with him, I would assume because of you. Has he ever worked with anybody competing in the Olympia before?
No, this is his first Olympia.
Really? I bet he's hyped.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's going to be out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely bringing him out there. That's part of what's kept me going, man, is the fact that it's his first Olympia. And I've had to really turn on the externally motivating factors, and pay attention to that for this prep, because it's just not the same. Like last year, 2021, I did the Chicago Pro and failed miserably. Got a little bit excited and failed, and knew exactly what I needed to do and what I needed to fix, how I needed to do it. And it became a big personal goal for me to win a pro show, because I knew I could. And I did that. And then after that, it was like, oh, fuck, I got to keep dieting. And so now, and there's nothing I can do about it. I wish I could change it, but I just don't have that same motivation. And so, like, there has been a couple of times where I cheated on the diet, whereas last time I was literally perfect. And there's been a couple of times where I've slipped up, and I might not go do fasted cardio, like, whether it's fast or post-workout, whatever. But I was just so much more motivated to get up and just go and just do shit. And like, whenever, maybe I was expecting a refeed one day after a check-in, and instead Cam's like, yo, let's push it for 2 more days. And back then I would like sit there for a minute and be like, fuck. And then I'd be like, you know what, let's grind it out. Let's go. Let's do this. And I was like tricking my brain into just being hardcore and just telling myself, like, man, stop counting down the days. Like, stop worrying about when this is going to be over. Because the beautiful thing about going through something like this is if you can just let it be your life, you'll be super successful.
Yeah.
If you can just be that structured and be that disciplined and be on a schedule and just nail just every box every day, all the time, I would be super, super efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the reason I react so well when I prep for a show is because when I'm not prepping for a show, I don't do half that stuff, and I eat kind of whatever I want, and I still eat chicken and rice and good protein filled meals enough to stay big and stuff. But I'm also eating a lot of bad stuff that other people would never imagine that a pro bodybuilder is probably eating.
Right.
And, so that's big time.
I mean, you hear about the people that, it's, I feel like there's a stark contrast with people that jump into prep of, you either go one of two directions of like, you just completely fall off the rails and things almost get worse than they were like prior to the prep, or those people that like you add in all this extra stuff and you have to be, pretty structured with your schedule. And, you have, those dopamine hits of, hey, I'm following it, I'm accomplishing these things. What else can we add in here? What else can we add in here? And you just keep stacking more and more and more of like, and I know Jocko is a big one that talks about of like discipline equals freedom, but like, man, when you structure that stuff out, you create more free time for yourself to even add in more or enjoy that time if you want to.
Yeah, for sure. Like I find myself now a lot of the time I'm like, shit, I need to do something. Like I'm just literally have nothing to do. And it's like, so, I mean, you can always find something to do, but like whenever I'm not prepping for a show, like I'll very easily just sit on my phone, go eat something, just like I don't have those moments where I just have nothing to do, or I feel that way anyways. Cause like, I don't want to necessarily just sit there and like watch TV. I don't know. Like, it's just not the same. Whenever I'm in prep, it's like, I feel like something could always be getting done.
You could be adding in more, this or that, or because I know that's how I felt of like, man, if I've got 10 extra minutes here, like I'm gonna throw this in because that would be beneficial.
Well, and what you learn about prep is that like the whole thing is called prep. Like that whole time period, if you can prepare everything, in some way get more efficient in how you're preparing things, you'll be better. Whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like taking stuff from the counter to the trash can, it's like, yeah, I could do that later, or I could just do it right now. And it's done.
Yeah.
And I don't have to do it later. It's like take the trash out, or, go to the grocery store. Like actually, so today I knew I had this, and I was like, I'm out of Greek yogurt. That's what I need to eat post-workout. Well, I went to the gym right before this, and I needed to have my post-workout meal ready so I could just come straight here. It's like, so if I don't get Greek yogurt now, this screws up my whole plan. So then, and I go from telling myself I'm going to do this and this and this later. I make a short list and I go and just bang out a few things in a matter of like 20 minutes. The grocery store is right down the street. I go and bang out a few things right in 20 minutes and then it's just done.
Right.
And you don't have to worry about it anymore.
So did you pick up anything else at the grocery store when you were there?
Extra.
Yeah.
Did I buy anything? I did. Yeah. I did. And I've been so much better about it lately.
Yeah.
But today I bought fat-free cottage cheese.
Okay.
That was the one thing, because I got the Greek yogurt and it was right there next to it.
Yeah.
I was like, that might be nice.
Yeah.
And so that was the one thing that wasn't on my list.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get better.
Well, I mean, did you grab anything else? Did you have anything else on your list when you went to the grocery store?
Oh, yeah. I had to get some asparagus, zucchini, Greek yogurt, energy drinks. I stock up on the Ghost, and Cash Saver is the cheapest anywhere. Yeah, short list today.
Yeah.
Some bananas actually too.
Yeah.
So.
But what I'm getting at is, man, I know that like you just like what you said earlier is just being more efficient with your time, where, if you've got, where even if you set up your schedule, like, okay, I'm going to be working out from this time to this time, then, I'm over at Kevin's place for the podcast at this time, you find yourself with an extra 20 minutes. It's like, okay, like, let's knock out getting, I've got a plan, I guess not an extra 20 minutes, but hey, I've got a plan, 20 minutes to go stop at a grocery store because I need that Greek yogurt for post-workout. Like that's a must, we have to have that. Well, from there, let's add in this, and this. Like I know
So as a matter of fact, I got my oil changed because it takes like less than 10 minutes at this place. So yeah, as a matter of fact, like I was like, you know what? I need to go to the grocery store, and I had just gotten this little oil change voucher thing and the coupon thing in the mail. I was like, okay, yeah, we'll hit that on the way and knock that out real quick. So
You're doing things even outside of prep, the Olympia prep. So I know when I was in high school, I worked at a frozen custard place called Fritz's in St. Louis, and I almost always liked doing either cleaning machines or even just running dishes because there was a whole process to it. And I loved being as efficient as possible about it as I could, because like the sooner I got it done, the sooner I got to get out of there.
Yeah.
And it was, if even just dishes, man, it was like, hey, if I, I'm, just running things through the dishwasher, but hey, if I, stack these two things together, that creates less loads, and I have to have less loads go through. And if if I'm rinsing these take a while to wash. So and these take a while to rinse. So if I pair those up together, I'll be more efficient and cut down on my time. And I just love that. Like,
I definitely play that game with myself often, especially with the kids, because there's so many different little things that need to happen. Like just the other day, for example, so Saturday, I took the two littlest kids home because they live here in the city. I took them home Saturday night, and then Sunday morning take my oldest home. So then we can kind of chill, sleep in a little bit Sunday morning, and don't have to be as on schedule. The kids, they always wake up at like the same time and whatever. But anyway, so whenever I went to take them home, I needed to feed them dinner. And then, the drive to their house was like almost 30 minutes. And then I'm also, I was behind on water at the time. And so I started slamming water, and it's like I got to piss every 10 minutes. And so I felt really good about, and also another thing, I don't know what your main like audience is for the podcast, but like I smoke a bunch of weed, and that's a part of my routines. Like I'll work that into my time gaps. And like if I need to do something where I can just be sitting on my phone doing it or sitting on the computer doing it, then I'll roll a blunt first, smoke, and do those things. And so like I'm like really trying to be efficient. But so anyways,
but structured in the way that like, you specifically put those things after you smoke as opposed to before.
Well, yeah. I mean, as far as like making sure I get them done. Yeah. Not necessarily. I don't really have an issue with that because like I smoke all the time. Like when I wake up, like all day long in intervals, but especially on prep, because the dopamine thing, it just kind of keeps me going. It's like I'm either chewing gum or drinking a diet root beer or just something. There's always something.
So you can function pretty well. I don't function when I'm high real well. I know I have to have, sorry if I'm cutting you off or getting on a tangent, but I have to have my whole to-do list done, and it's like if I'm completely done and like I've literally got nothing left to do the rest of the day, then I'm in the clear.
Yeah, I kind of admire those people because it's probably more enjoyable. But for me, it's like just my normal. Yeah, like that's just how it's like medication.
I was gonna say it's like more a medication at that point. So
yeah, it's like somebody that has anxiety and they take Adderall twice a day or something. Yeah, that's exactly how it is. But yeah, with taking the kids home the other day, it's just a good example. So I needed to feed them. Okay. And Saturday nights, we usually pick something up. And so I got them Sonic, and I ordered it on the app. So I went and I smoked. And while I was smoking, I ordered their food, set the pickup time, got them all ready, jackets, everything they needed. We went to Sonic, picked it up, headed home, and I'm like driving, and I have a process. So I got the grilled cheese and the fries and everything. They come out hot. Obviously you would want it, but the kids don't want it hot. So I get it. We start driving down the street. I grab half the grilled cheese sandwich and I stick it out the window, holding it in my hand. Do that for like 10 seconds, tear it in half, give one little one half, give the other little one half. My bigger kid, he's eating chicken strips or whatever. So I ain't got to worry about him. And then with the fries, I just got a big thing of fries, and I'm like, yo, let me know when you want fries. So here, boom, boom. And I'm just like while I'm driving, like giving around fries and everything. And then like I took a different route to get to their house because I knew, I was like, if I take this route, then it's an easy turn into this on cue. I can pop in there, take a piss real quick, keep going. Versus taking this other route, I knew that the gas station was on the left-hand side of the road.
Yeah.
And so it was just a harder turn. It would take longer, blah, blah, blah. And so just little things like that. I'm like setting it all the way. And then this day I ate this brownie. So 7-Eleven has these brownies. They're Oreo cookie brownies. Ooh. They have 10 grams of fat, 65 grams of carbs, and just a couple grams of protein. So they're doable. The macros aren't that bad at all. And they're just nice and thick, and they're just totally worth it. And so yeah, I just mapped it all the way out, and like based on the timing and everything, I was okay. If I drop them off at 7 o'clock, my next meal window, because it's like a 30-minute window for every meal. My next window starts at 7:15, so I'll drop them off. I'll stop at the gas station, take a piss, get my brownie, boom, 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 and just little things like that. Like I really thrive on that, and I really try to strategize those things.
It's so satisfying when everything lines up so perfectly. It's like, man, even down to the detail where the gas station's on the right side as opposed to the left. And it's like they have the brownie. I know the macros. I don't have to sit and figure something else out. Like, it's just nice when it just you know, even just like it, you feel like you accomplish an hour's worth of tasks within 10 minutes. It's like, all right, we're like running like a machine now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because even in my house, like in my kitchen, you know, going from the fridge to the counter or to the pantry to the counter, the way I do my meals, especially in the early half of the day, there's usually multiple things. Like I was listing off earlier, there's multiple foods involved. So I'll like map it out, like, okay, how many trips do I make to the fridge, back to the thing? It's like, okay, I'll microwave this first so I can cook this while it's microwaving. Then I can mix this while that's microwaving, and blah, 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 blah. And yeah, like I really thrive. I mean, it's funny. I saw like a meme about this. It's one of those things that you just don't realize other people do or think about. But like when I was a kid and it's dark outside or something, you got to take the trash out. It's like you see a car coming down the street, and you're like, I got to get to the trash can before the car gets here to see me, and then hide behind the trash can and then sprint back before anybody else sees me. It's like just playing those little games with yourself, basically.
I know you mentioned that to me before, and I don't know if it was the meme or not, but I saw a meme like that. And I almost sent it to you of like when you have to, you know, gosh, I can't even remember what it was, but it's like when you have to, you know, get from, when you have to turn the light off within the next, you know, 10 seconds, or like, you know, something's going to happen kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly. I was always that kid that played part of it because I was scared. And then I guess maybe it created some competitiveness with myself, but yeah, I was always that kid. And then, now constantly being challenged day to day, I guess it's just natural.
Yeah.
So,
Ryan, how we doing on time?
Probably wrap it up.
Wrap it up? Okay. Well, man, hour and a half flew by faster than I anticipated. So,
yeah, it did.
Yeah.
I should have gave myself more time, but
that's all right.
Maybe we could do another.
Yeah, I'm down for another, man.
Yeah, get the post Olympia experience.
I'd be down for that. We'll be willing to. Man, we'll all be watching, keeping up with you. So, man, I hope you thrive on, you know, the attention more than I know some competitors try and avoid it, and, you know, don't tell people are competing. Obviously, you can't really hide that you're going to the Olympia. So.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, it's funny that you said that because this weekend I'm actually competing at the Battle of Texas in men's physique. So it's something that like I've always kind of like, well, I say joked about it, but really it's more so because other people take it as a joke. But like I've always admired men's physique, and I've always thought that I could fit right into that category. And especially now, I feel like my physique and that upper shelf, like I mentioned, is kind of developed more. I feel like I fit in a little better. And so with the timing of it, it just kind of works out. Like I can't see myself full on prepping for a men's physique show without not being able to prep for a classic show. And so, because I wouldn't be able to let that go. I wouldn't be able to not go and win a classic show.
Right.
But it lines up perfectly, and I was going to be there already for a client that's competing. And, you know, it's free to enter the show as a pro. My sponsor paid for my tan, I got nothing to lose.
Yeah, that'll be
So
cool, man. That's
yeah.
Obviously I've seen pictures of you competing in physique back in the day. So man, that'll be exciting, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm nervous a little bit because we're not going to really peak for this show. So I don't know. I mean, I'm going to do some small manipulations with water, but really not going to try and peak for this show food wise.
Yeah.
So I'm a little nervous. Hopefully I look good enough to lean enough to be comparable. But I'm really excited to see how I stack up because there's a couple Olympians in the lineup, and I think I could see myself in that category in the future. Because just my legs, I can't train them how I want to with all the injuries I've had. And so, yeah, I'm excited, a little bit nervous. It's like brand new. So I feel it's weird. So,
well, man, where's the best place for everybody to keep up with you for the Battle of Texas and the Olympia?
So, I do most of my posting and everything, social media and all that, on Instagram. So JT Physique. I believe that the Olympia definitely has a live stream that will be available. And the Battle of Texas, I believe, has a live stream as well. I'll try to post that on my Instagram. But yeah, that's mostly at Instagram, some Facebook, but mostly Instagram. So hit me up.
Yeah. Well, make sure to keep up with IFBB Pro, Jonathan Pelkey, JT. Appreciate everybody listening. JT, appreciate you being on the podcast, man. I know that you are a busy person. A lot of important stuff going on with clients and competing yourself. So, man, really appreciate you taking the time and sitting down with us today. So,
yeah, glad to be on.
Yeah. Appreciate everybody watching. Till next time.